Custard and I'm an aero modeller and an engineer. Join me on a fascinating journey where I show you some of the techniques used in scale aero modelling. Hello again modellers, and welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to try and keep to the script of the video so that it doesn't get too long. So what I'm going to show you today is the preparation of the cowl and spraying it silver. I've added panel lines. I've cut the hole for the exhaust as well, which we will be adding just to give it a bit more detail. As you can see, I've opted for the blue bands rather than the yellow. I think it looks quite pretty. It looks like the Cranwell chipmunks had blue bands, but with a dark blue edge to them and a crest on the fuselage band. My subject, WP761 I think it is, doesn't have the outer bands and doesn't have the crest on the fuselage. So I'm still trying to figure out why it's blue. You know, is it supposed to be, is it a Cranwell one that just isn't accurately replicated, or is this some other significance? Anyway, if you know, stick something in the comments. I'd like to say that the comments have been very entertaining, so a lot of people have been putting suggestions up on there of what I'm doing wrong and things like that, which is all fine and dandy and welcome. I'm not an expert at this, I just dabble at it, and I'm hoping I'm showing you that it's not difficult and it's only balsa. You know, it's not the end of the world, and it's not life or death. Just get on and do it, have a go, see how you get on. You can't do any worse than I'm doing. Anyway, so that's what we're going to look at on this video. So hopefully we can plough our way through it. The landing gear is quite an interesting feature on the model. They come with oleos, which is quite nice, but they're quite stiff and you need to do a bit of fettling to make them a little bit more fusible. As far as the oleo covers are concerned, that's what you get in the kit. Pretty naff, I think. And what's more, you get two identical ones. And as you probably know, the landing light is usually, not always, but 99.9% of the time, the landing light is on the port undercarriage leg on a chipmunk. It's very rare, but there is a Canadian one with two lights. Anyway, so what I did to make this a little bit more realistic is, you can probably guess, I've wrapped lithoplate around the oleo and just wrapped it around the oleo to form it, and then put a 90-degree bend in it and just glued it against itself, so it made a sort of a teardrop shape. Then for the shroud for the light, it's actually I made it in plasticine, and then, no I didn't make it in plasticine. I made it in P38 Isopon, the bodywork two-part filler, and I made it as a lump, a big lump, and I wrapped it around that lens that you can see there, and then once it was all set, well, when it was cheesy I cut it with a scalpel, but then once it was harder I was then able to sand it and use permanent needle files and sandpaper and what have you to get kind of the right shape. The LED light and lens is very interesting. This is from a torch, and it's made by a manufacturer called Cree, C-R-E-E. And I bought a pack of 5 little torches for £5 or something like that, and just took the lens and the bulb, well, the LED assembly out. And that is simply driven by 3.5 to 4 volts, something like that. And what I use is a single cell 1S LiPo, and it's in the fuselage through a remote switch. So when the flaps are lowered, the landing light comes on, and it is really bright. Even in sunshine you can see it. So the brand to look for is this Cree. Their torches have extremely bright LEDs and certainly visible in daylight. Ordinarily, when you spray over the top of a film covering, and I'm no expert on this, but this is just my take on it. Whenever I've done it before, I've used a green Scotch-Brite pad over the film to just mat it off before applying any paint. And I did that with Warbird colours and it worked fine, and it's been really resilient. As an experiment on this model, the yellow aura cover has not been scuffed at all. So the silver glass coat is put straight over the top of untreated aura cover. Let's see. Now this is 3M masking tape. No problem at all. This is Tamiya tape. Excellent tape. Lost the serrations off the end of the holder. This is really good tape if you want to make sure you don't get any lines on the edges. Then this is the tape to use. I'm really going to put it down, you know, the way I would if I wanted to mask a line. No issues at all. So I think we're probably good to go. Now with the chipmunk, I deliberately went for vinyls because it has paint over the top of the film. I didn't want to use my usual route, which is stencils, because that adds more stickiness onto the surface that you've then got to peel off, just in case it lifts the paint. It looks like I probably would have been okay, but I hate doing roundels anyway, because especially with class coat where you have to leave a couple of days between each colour, roundels can take over a week, and you have to be quite organised. You have to do all the red for all the roundels at once, and then all the white, and then all the blue, etc. And it takes a lot of time. So for this model, which it isn't even standoff scale, it's just an ARTF for fun, and it's just a hack model for whenever I want to go flying. I get the urge and I don't want to fuss around with anything, I just want to go flying. So for this one I've used vinyls, as I've shown you in a previous video. They're from Pyramid Models, great value, not very expensive. You just go onto their website and tell them what diameter you want, and away you go. They arrive in the post a couple of days later. They're cut from vinyl, and what more do you need? And the thing is, when you put vinyl on, you don't have to worry about it lifting the paint. You're just putting it straight on top of the surface. So there we go. Unfortunately, when the model arrived, there was a big flake of black paint here, and it didn't look obvious until you saw the edges were all cracked. And the minute I put my fingernail near it, it just flaked off. And there was actually an air bubble, quite a bad air bubble or dirt or something, in between the fiberglass and the layers of paint and the gel coat. So I had to sand it right back, and it's got a little bit thinner. What I'm going to do is just put a little bit of spot putty on there just to build it up, or maybe even some David's Isopon, the 2-part polyester filler, automotive filler. Just put a really light skim over there, because it is waving slightly, the surface, and that'll sort that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some panel lines on this. I may as well. It's not difficult to do. I also want to cut a hole and fit an exhaust, a dummy exhaust. So I'll show you all of that. If you watched the Oster video where we did the cowling, I showed you how I'd used chart pack tape to outline the panel lines, and we covered it in primer, then we sanded the primer back to the chart pack tape, and then we peeled the tape off. All very pretty, pretty standard stuff. With the Oster I used 1/32 panel line tape, and it actually worked quite well on the Oster. However, my normal chart pack tape is 64th, and for this one, even though it's still 1/5, I think I'll probably stay at 1/64th. The reason is I don't really want these panel lines to be quite as prominent, because there's no panel lines on the rest of the model. So I think it would look wrong if we didn't have any, but we also don't want to show up the rest of the model, which is missing them. Okay, so I'll just show you how I'm going to quickly panel line this with the chart pack tape. And there we have it. Well, those of you that have watched my series of videos on the Oster will know that this is one of my favourite bits when you do masking and airbrush and spraying, and that's kind of like the big reveal. Now hopefully this will also answer a couple of questions I've had via the comments fields on the channel, and that was, how does the paint stand up to you know, how well does it stick to the plastic film? I think you'll see in a minute. It actually stands up remarkably well. As you see in some of the photos about how I masked this using the laser level, the paper tapes I was using at first, I couldn't get them to curve round the line very well. So what I've ended up using is vinyl tape, and it's lining tape that the automotive people use. Now, it's not as good at sealing on the edges, so you've got to be very careful and expect a little bit of paint bleed, but we'll see. And this is where we see whether or not the silver stays put. As you can see, nothing's happened. It's lifted nice and cleanly. Fingers crossed on this next bit. You can see how I pull the tape at 45 degrees to the what I want to lift and flat against the surface. And there we have one blue band. So a minor problem, the one pot of X14 Sky Blue that I have was insufficient to do the underside of the wings. So I've done the stripe on the fuselage and the stripes on the top of the wings, but unfortunately one jar was not enough. So I've got two more coming. They should arrive in a couple of days, so we'll finish it off then. So all I'll do is I'll unmask the top but not unmask the underside. And as you can see, the tape is coming off quite cleanly, and that is against the silver that's straight onto the film. I'm just going to take the larger areas of paper masking off, leave the 2 green stripes, and now get to see the top come off. So again, pull it back 45 degrees and flat against the surface just to make sure. And there you see, nice sharp edge, no bleeding, no lifting of the silver on what was, and just I sprayed straight over the top of that film. I didn't prep it at all. So that's quite promising. I hope it gives you some ideas of what you can do with your bog standard ARTFs. Give them a bit more flair.